call me old man Wade.
Damn you, old man!
Wait.
Old ass man.
Shut up, old man. You smell like fart.
No, man!
Old man.
He's so old, he got a podcast on cassette.
Fuck, you're old.
Damn it, Wade.
Community. That is the, oh my God.
It's the only part. Like, if you could do black church without God, it would be great for me. If you could have gospel music that was about everyday shit that affects us as people, that would be great for me. If we could have cookouts on Sunday.
Can we have the church of militantly old man? No,
You know what I'm saying?
militantly old curmudgeon. Can we have the church of militantly old curmudgeon? And this is what we do. Every week, a new person. So you show up at church. We need a new word for church. No, church works. No, every week you show up at community. All right.
Community.
You show up at community, and each week someone goes, and it's just testimony. The whole thing is just testimony, and it's like, you come and go as you please. If you like want to say your piece about something good that happened, and then you want to leave, cool. You go on and leave. If you have a song you want to sing that like will make someone happy, you sing the song, everyone joins in, and you leave. And it's just like, and no one's judging the other person. We all leave feeling good. And guess what? And like, hey, at 3 o'clock, after we shut down community, we'll be setting up for food for 4 o'clock.
Right.
Like, let's. Oh God, can we? Is any way we
I
can?
want this so badly
Like-
because it is the one thing that being an atheist who grew up in the church, that kind of was church for me. I went to this place. They talked about some shit I didn't know anything about, or I wasn't trying to feel, but like I loved that people felt a connection and a duty to each other. How often we brought food to a person because one of the, Mrs. Ellis was in the hospital, so Mr. Ellis needed a casserole or some shit, that kind of stuff, like community to the service to the community of the people that we saw every week. That kind of stuff was important. Getting little envelopes, birthday envelopes and stuff like that from the people around. That was nice to feel like I had all these uncles and aunties that were an extension of my family, even though they weren't related. All that kind of stuff was great. Except that it was also super judgmental, and that there was this whole talk about this white daddy, sky daddy, that was telling us what we were supposed to do.
Sky daddy.
In the beginning, he was vengeful, and now he's in love.
Hold on. I am not letting that go. White sky daddy is.
Sky daddy is out there shaking his fingers at you from the clouds. He's watching you masturbate. He knows that you out there being trash. Like that was a weird kind of oppression. And I mean, I have a whole lot of things about child abuse as associated with Christian or like with religion. My husband has told a story about how he really struggled as a kid with his Christianity because his dad wouldn't go to church, and he's being told by his pastor that if you don't believe in God, you go to hell. And he asks his mom, "Well, what about Dad?" And she's like, "Don't worry, we'll go to heaven. He won't, but you won't miss him because God will wipe him out of your memory." And now he's got to be worried that he's not even going to remember his father who he loves, because he's going to be up in heaven and his dad's going to be in hell. That's child abuse. That's a lot for a little kid to try to take care of.
I never thought about that, but it really is.
So there's all kinds of things that I have where religion is concerned, but I do miss the community of it. I miss the music. That kind of stuff it's kind of rough to not be able to have some place like that, because what you don't want to do as an atheist is fall into the same kind of traps of Christianity by creating a community space in which eventually judgment creeps in, and you're not a real atheist if you don't live this way or that way, that kind of stuff. Like we're trash. Humans are trash. We are always going to put
ourselves.
Oh
my God, thank you. I tell everyone, like, yo, I'm trash. Don't let my the nice things I do confuse you. I'm a piece of shit. I know who I am.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's actually, I think, what I've gotten out of this, in particular the black side of the podcasting.
Yeah.
Because I've been in tons of these podcasting resources groups, and in the mainstream groups, which, I hate to say it, but I'm going to call them the white groups. In the white groups,
Hold
When
on.
you do the-
So I'm texting a buddy of mine who I want to connect you with. My best friend Diddy, he runs the Black Rabbit website, and so I say I have someone you should interview for your site. You'll hear her on the show next week. She called God White Sky Daddy, and then he goes, she called Christianity child abuse because they scare you with hell. He goes, did you interview me in a wig? And he goes, that's a fair point. Like, so I'll connect the two of you. Like, you'll.
Oh, I could talk about this shit like crazy. I actually have a guy on my third episode. He was the closest to me of anybody I've had on the show in that he was a militant mixed guy from Oakland, and I'm a militant mixed girl from Long Beach. So we're kind of sister cities in a way in terms of like radicalism and militancy and stuff like that. And he also refers to him as Sky Daddy. So it was one of the few times I've ever connected with someone who also called him Sky Daddy. So that was fun. But yeah, he talks about it. He's like, I don't think you can be militant and not want to help other people. And that's what I think is missing from I think the church spaces for Black folks, but also I think just like Blackness in general now. You know, we've gone through these little patches of like wokeness or consciousness and this, and then we go into like deep trash, and then we kind of come back and try to be woke again. You know what I'm saying? Like these kind of things that
some of them woke people need to take a nap, man. Like just a 15-minute siesta would be perfectly okay.
Just a refresher, so you come back and you're not all tight wound and stuff. Might work a little bit.
Like, dog, hit snooze. It's okay.
Like, you know, I have certain causes, obviously, that I'm gonna go in hard for. But even I know that there's times when you gotta backpedal or take a pause on things. But, you know, more than anything, like, I try not to get too wound up about religion anymore, but it's a problematic space, and if I see abuse in it, it really winds me up. When it comes to, like, my polyamorous thing, I never want to give off that I'm a recruiter, because I'm 100% not a recruiter. But I would like...
Is that a thing?
Oh, people... So, okay, I think everybody has their recruiters, absolutely. I think there are gay recruiters, I think there are... poly recruiters, I think they're all across the board. But
oh god, I wish this was video.
majority of people are not recruiters, and like in my case, I will tell you anything you want to know about poly. I will get in there with you, and I'll turn it back around on you to be like, well, why don't you think this way? You know, like, I can see you're judging me, but let me judge you for a second. Why don't you think this is safe? Are you that insecure? Are you that, like, what is the things? You know, because these are the types of attacks that come at me. But sometimes people go, well, you got me thinking maybe this life is for me. I just want you to know that if you're thinking that is on you, and I will help you on your journey with education. But I am not trying to recruit you so that you become a part of my polycule. Like, that's like, I have some really hard passes on that. Like, there's some people, I've been asked, actually on a podcast recently, I was asked, has there ever been someone that you wanted, and so you kind of try to talk to them about poly to get them onto your side so that you can date them? Fucking no. Like, I am not here for a newbie. I'm here, like, I'll be your friend and shit like that, but I'm not trying to bring you into my fold, because I have dated a newbie, and it is a disaster, because when you're a newbie, you are still of monogamous mentality. So the shit that triggers you as a monogamous person fucks you up as a poly person your first time out the gate. Jealousy. We had a shared girlfriend who would get jealous and treat me like the other woman sometimes. And she's living in my house with my husband, type of a thing. You know, there were moments where, because they got so close on their sexual kink side, that like she would tell me, she would get upset, and I'd say, do you feel like he is cheating on you right now? And she goes, I kind of do. And she goes, and I know I'm being ridiculous because you guys are married and have been together for, you know, all these years. And then we would sit there and try to talk about it and work it out. So like, she wasn't ready to go full in cohabitating poly when we got together, which is unfortunate, because if we had identified a lot of those signs, we wouldn't have had some of the problems that we ended up having, probably. That would have been a totally different set of problems.
So, you know what's funny is I just found out that polyamory is something that's been around for a long time. So I
predates monogamy.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? And it's, again, probably back to Christianity, where they say, like, you know, one person, one this, and blah, 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 blah. Even though in our base, we are animals. We are Like, you know, our base needs are to eat, sleep, and fuck. That's what our base needs are. And it's like a lot of our, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. I'm having a brain fart right now. A lot of our ways of thinking and ways of life come from programming. Whether it be religious programming, social programming. And I'm pretty sure there's some other countries and some other tribes that are just kind of like, they just fuck. You know what I mean?
That's why I say at the beginning when I start talking about it, I always say, because we are biologically non-monogamous. Like, at our biological roots, we are not monogamous. Men have to replace themselves. So that's why they fuck a lot. And that's why they try to impregnate as many females as they possibly can to spread their seed, so there's more of them when they die.
You want to sow your royal oats.
That's what we are. Women do tend to want to, or do tend to have the genetic tie to a partner or a small group or a smaller group of partners because of the security and everything like that. We are no different at a biological level than lions, than gorillas, than any of these animals that have a social structure, you know, like a family-based structure. Elephants, same type of structures they have. There's only a few animals in the animal kingdom that are naturally monogamous, but even they are not so monogamous that they fuck up, you know, they don't continue to repopulate. We are exactly the same. What sets us apart is that we speak and that we build shit. You know, that's really what sets us apart. So, like, society, even in the Bible is full of polygamy. Whether or not it's polyamory is a different thing. It's full of polygamy, though. And even the major players in the Old Testament are dudes who rocked 4, 5, 6, 7 wives. You know, that was just like we got Abraham and Isaac and Moses had a couple of wives, and Noah. There's a story with an extra. Noah's his?
You're asking the wrong
daughter-in-law and shit like that.
I replaced all the Bible verses with quotes from Marvel Comics.
Word. I mean, like my dad used to make us read the Bible cover. So for years, I could quote like every aspect of it. Now,
well, know thy enemy.
That was always my favorite, and I still use that one actually. But yeah, like at a biological level, this isn't very natural for us to be this way. Love, I think, is a very human. Love as a part of your relationship is a very human thing, I think. Animals show all the time that they have love between us, that they mourn their partners or their family members and stuff like that. You see this all the time. And for some reason, humans don't seem to think that animals are capable of this, and yet we are capable of this. So when I bring it up, when I talk about poly, I always say at the beginning, we are not naturally monogamous. We are societally programmed, because up until... And this is what kind of starts monogamy as the turn towards the main relationship structure, is when when humanity started to turn more towards an agrarial, is that how you say it? Agriculture. When we started going more into the agricultural style of like farming and feeding, we started to have monogamous marriages pop up, because it suited a man with a farm to have a wife to take care of the house and the kids, to give him more farmers so that he could continue his land and his space. That it's documented. I can show you some sources. So monogamous partnering started to become more popular at like a societal level, based off of the agrarian shift in the things. Because up until then, the Romans were polyamorous, the Greeks were polyamorous. Like, in terms of, unfortunately, we know more about European and white history than we know about any other part of the world. I got my DNA test from the African side. My people come from Gabon. The tribes that they come from, polygamous tribes. It just so happens, it's just a coincidence, but, you know, whatever, it's there. We come from societies in which, well, the agrarian thing is on the European side. That's when European culture started to shift towards monogamy, is because of farms. Whereas, like, in Africa, there's tons of tribes in which there is one man and several wives, and they, you know, they kind of nomad around, and you know, they meet other tribes and meet new wives that way, and kind of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff like that. So it's still actually really common across the world. There's a whole lot of places. It's just any place that's been westernized has shifted more towards the monogamy thing. So, like, if you want to get into it on that level, then we talk about biology and we talk about like cultural shifts that bring us to that. But that's not really that important, because right now we do live in a society. That's primarily monogamous. So, maneuvering through a monogamous society when you're polyamorous like me is hard, because people don't get it. They don't understand that for me, it is about the opportunity to have love with multiple people. It sounds like I want to fuck a lot. It's not that, because if I wanted to fuck a lot, I probably wouldn't partner. I would just go out there and do what I do. But polyamory, all it is at the very base is just loving more than one person, which we do anyway. We love our moms and our dads and our brothers and our sisters and our cousins and our friends and we are capable of loving more than one person. But when we think about relationships, romantic relationships, we think we're only capable of doing it with one. And we're actually not only capable of that. We can spread it around. If it's not for you, or you're a little bit antisocial, that's the other part. I'm the worst to be poly. Can I tell you? I hate people. And I am polyamorous as fuck.
Oh, God, you really need to meet my wife. She said, she says I hate people on a regular basis. Like,
that's how I wake up. That's what my alarm clock says. It's just like, I hate people. I hate people. Like, I don't like to be around people that much. And actually, I really love podcasting because it allows me to be social without having to spend time with people.
I think you just posted that too, matter of fact.
Yeah, like, I talked about that. It really is the best thing. I have become more social in the last, year or so than I had been for a while. I started going full hermit. And it's weird to be a hermit and also polyamorous, because I don't think my husband is the end-all be-all to my happiness. And there's things that I want to try that it may not be his thing. Just like he has kinks that are not my thing. And it really sucks to have to try them and not perform well. Like if it's a role-playing kink, say, and he's really into it, but I'm not. But I'm trying my damnedest. He's not getting a full, rich experience because I'm faking it. And I'm not having a full, rich experience because I don't want to be here. So if he could find a partner that could do that for him, great. I mean, that's just an example, but like there's other kinks that he has that, like he's got some that I'm like, you better get out of here with that. And then he's got some that is just like, I'd try it, but I wouldn't be that good at it because it's not my thing.
I've had conversations with people where for example, I've said this on the show a million times. I used to hoe, but my numbers aren't like. I did. I was a hoe. Like I fucked a lot, but it's like I fucked a lot in a short period of time. It was because it was just like I had a really bad breakup, and I was like, "Fuck relationships. I'm going for the vagina." That's just what it was. And there were just some things that I wanted to do, and it's just the way it was. And there were some things that I just wasn't really into. And thankfully, I met a woman who was, I trusted enough to try some things with her that like I wouldn't normally try, and we were both in a safe place where we could do these things. But neither of us wanted a relationship because we both knew we were too damaged at the time to do anything else but what we were doing.
Right.
But we loved each other. But it was just like, no, we would kill each other if we were in a relationship. So this shit will never work. You know what I mean? So, like, this is one of the reasons why, like, again, I can't do polyamory. Like, I just can't. Like, I know myself. I know who I am. I'm lucky enough to be with someone who fills all of my sexual gratification. She fills all of my emotional needs. I fill all of hers. And we can kind of go through a place where, like, we can speak about the things that we're not into, or some things that, like, I need to do, or some things that she needs to do. We can come together in a safe place.
Right.
But I also understand that there are, for other people, there might be, for example, pegging. I'm not into pegging. My butthole is an exit only. That's me. There are some people who might go, some guys who might go, I want to try it. And if their wife's not into it, and their wife's okay with someone else doing it, then, okay, go do that. Who the fuck am I to judge? Like,
yeah.
Like, what is it Jay-Z said? What you eat don't make me shit? Like, I don't...
Yeah, that's a good line.
Like, at the end, like, realistically, at the end of and this is, I think... Okay, so me and my wife are driving... My wife is driving somewhere with me, and we almost got into a car accident because this person was paying more attention to someone else than their own road. And she said something that was like one of the dopest things ever, and I'll never forget it. If everyone minded their own fucking business, we wouldn't have the problems we have in this world.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Let's just say, for example, I never knew you were polyamorous. Let's just say for shits and giggles. I know you enjoy comic books. I know you have 5 cats that are Star Wars themed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I know you have a podcast. I know Brandon moved to California. Mm-hmm. I know he's married, and I believe he just graduated.
I think recent, in the last couple of years, I think. Yeah.
So there's things I know about them, but like, I know the positive things about them. Like, why do I need to know the intricate parts of someone's personal life? Like, I don't need to know this shit, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so.
Like, at the bare minimum, you need to know what would allow you to have a conversation, you know, mutual connection or whatever. That kind of stuff is basic human interaction shit that we need.
Yeah, but I also believe that sometimes I'm like, just leave me the fuck alone. Go over there. So we let's get into some fun. Going back to the topics. Yes, something I want to talk about. Batman. You mentioned
Batman.
You have issues with Batman.
I'm in a crisis of faith. To piggyback off of our previous conversation.
You realize now that you said crisis with something, like the next thing is gonna be Batman, crisis of Batman, DC, crisis of faith.
I am a ride or die Batman girl. Like, that Batman's my first introduction into comics, and then X-Men next. My house is filled with Batman stuff. I never take it off, my little Batman necklace and stuff like that here. Like, Batman, I have always loved. Batman was my sense of justice, I think. Where I kind of learned what I thought justice was. That you see a wrong, and even though it's kind of not your space, you try to right that wrong. Like, there was something about that as a kid that appealed to me, I think. And he has, like, the most colorful collection of fucking villains ever. Like, he has a villain who's literally Condiments Man, who squirts mustard or ketchup at you. Like, that's so stupid, but I love it.
I thought that was, for a while, I thought that was a joke. I was like, there's no way that's actually a thing.
It's actually a thing. He had King Tut. He has, there's so many, but, also I really like the push and pull between him and Joker. I'm a really hardcore Joker fan too. So, Batman, I have just loved Batman forever. I mean, besides the fact that
he loved Batman forever. I see what you did there.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Accidental awesomeness. I'm so into Batman. I really, really love Batman. And even when someone fucks it up, like Joel Schumacher, there's still always some little thing here and there that I could kind of pull from it and just love it or whatever. But I'm struggling right now with the whole thing that, sometimes you do have to take out an enemy permanently. I think there are some people, like Joker say, he keeps locking Joker away. Joker keeps getting out.
Kill that motherfucker.
Joker kills more. Now, Batman, you are kind of responsible for the deaths that follow when you didn't take them out when you had chances, just because you have a code. I think that they're a code. I used to think that a code should be black and white like that. And now I think it's too hard for a code to be black and white like that, because there are some circumstances in which if you do not take the Joker out and more people die, that's kind of on you, bro. I understand not killing the minions, break them up, make it hard for them to recover, okay, fine. But the big dog, you gotta take out.
So you read...
And I love Joker.
You read Killing Joke, right?
Mm-hmm. It's my favorite.
I'm never gonna watch that movie because I saw what they did with it. I'm all set. But there was
I got feelings.
There, huh?
I said, I got feelings.
We can talk about that too. I'm glad I watched the Honest trailer and I'm like, they did what? I'm all set.
Yep.
But anyway, so I loved the end of the book because I understood why Batman wouldn't kill him. Like the end of that book where he's like, it was almost like he was pleading with them. Like I feel like Batman understands Joker because he's the opposite side of his coin. So he understands everything that he's doing. Batman's about order, Joker's about chaos. And that's the thing I don't think people understand is like, that's why Joker is the way he is. It's like this obsession with him is because it's chaotic. But what's funny is with Joker's chaos, there is order in his chaos. And you've seen what happens when a henchman differs from like Joker's plan. A plan is order. And he will lose his shit. You know what I mean? So, it's like Joker wants this chaos, but realistically, he doesn't want chaos. He wants, I guess the oxymoron would be chaotic. I said it.
Neutral.
Thank you. Chaotic control. But you can't. And with Batman, it was just like, please, can you please stop this? I don't want to do this the rest of our lives. You can be a better person. And it was funny the way the artist depict the Joker's face when he was like, I can't. It was almost like you could see the sadness in the Joker's like demeanor when he was just like, it was almost like I would love to, but that's never gonna happen. Yeah. And they laugh at it, and like the Joker.
The way they laugh, it's such a.
Yeah, and it's like Joker just did one of the most. What Joker did to Barbara Gordon and Jim Gordon during the Killing Joke is one of the 5 most heinous things I've seen in the comic. Maybe the 3 most heinous things I've seen in the comic book.
It's some dark shit.
Yeah. And God, I never thought about this, but can you imagine how Jim Gordon might have felt if he would have saw him laughing with Joker at the end of that? You know what I mean?
Confused. He wouldn't have been able to deal with Batman after that.
Yeah. Hey Jim, fuck you, Batman.
you are so problematic right now. I do not know how to get you back into my world.
Alright, okay, I'll add. Do you think Batman and Joker are fucked?
I mean, I'll just say that I wouldn't mind watching them fuck, but I don't know.
Okay, alright, so I have to ask, because I know some women are, we'll get back to the Batman thing. I know some women are into this. Do you watch guy-on-guy porn?
I don't even watch straight porn. Straight porn, I do not want to see a guy and a girl fuck. I only watch lesbian porn.
You know what's funny? No, go ahead.
I like, so in my way of thinking of not in like a turn on kind of way with them fucking, it's the energy. It's being those level of opposites and needing each other to survive. Yeah. There's something about that core idea that I wouldn't mind seeing channeled into sexual energy, but doesn't necessarily have to be the man on man. The man on man part doesn't appeal. The man on woman part doesn't appeal. Whatever. It's that type of opposites that depend on each other for survival. I get
so funny. Like, not funny, haha, but like it's so funny that it makes sense. So it's not about the sexual act. It's about the emotion and, like you said, the energy that goes with it. So. Yeah. What is it about the Joker that you love so much? Because I want to get into we're at you don't have anywhere to be, right? You're good?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
so
good.
all right. So I'm gonna cut this into 2 episodes so we can do this one dorky. What is it about the Joker that like is he your favorite? Is he your favorite? First off, is he?
He's my favorite villain. I think he's my favorite villain. So, I go back to him all the time.
What was your first experience with Joker, and why is he your favorite villain?
You know, that's a weird thing. I think. My first experience of Joker is Cesar Romero and Batman reruns. I think it is. Because I remember that by the time before I had access to books, by the time I saw Jack Nicholson's Joker, I understood Joker as being far more complicated than just like a one-note pony, the way like what's Penguin gonna do? Like as a kid, my whole idea is like Penguin is gonna be one thing, you know. Whereas like Joker, now I've been exposed to 2 different kinds of Joker, and he's the same dude. So there's got to be something really complicated about like sometimes you have to be this way, sometimes you have to be this way. I think so. I don't have clear pictures of it, but I know that in terms of like as I grow, or as I grew up and stuff like that, what always attracted me to Joker in terms of the villains is I like a villain that can't not. And that it comes from, I'll explain. Like, that especially a villain that comes from where their criminal life or their villainy comes from a good place. So that's why the idea of Anakin, not the execution of Anakin, but the idea of Anakin is so appealing, I think, to me, is that I wanted to do something good. I thought I had to do dirt to do that. And I ended up fucking up. So, like, with Joker, and I think about it, Killing Joke is my Joker. I think he's my main version of Joker. And I know Brandon doesn't like Killing Joke, but Killing Joke for me is
he doesn't
where
like the Killing Joke, really?
Yeah, I don't think he likes it. Yeah, I've heard him mention it on the show, and I wanted to talk to him about it. We haven't gotten into it yet.
Don't talk to him about it. I want to get the two of you guys in here together, and I want to moderate this conversation.
It's because Brandon and I could go at it on a few things. We have difference of opinion. I love the dude. We have always disagree.
which makes for good podcasting and good audio. So yeah, you were saying.
Okay, so with Joker and with the Killing Joke as his origin, if I'm viewing the Killing Joke as his origin story,
which I do as well.
Yeah, that's the one for me. You know, he starts out, he's just like a failed comedian who is just fucking trying. And there's nothing else he wants to do, but he's got a family coming, and he knows he's going to have to step it up, and it's the idea of having to not be his true self to be able to support his family, I think is a big part of what's taking its toll on his mentality and what opens him up to, you know, being tricked or coerced or whatever into committing this crime that they're going to make him do, you know, the gangsters are going to make him do. And so I think, like, he has this struggle. He's like, I know me, I'm a good enough person, I could do this one bad thing if it means I'm going to be able to take care of us and I'll never have to do it again. And, you know, I'm doing this so that we can be together and I can take care of us, but I can still live my life. I can still go out there and try to be a comedian, I think. And I get that. I get, like, just fucking scratching and surviving by any means.
Well,
like,
we both get it as two people who have to work full-time jobs, but also have projects and dreams and goals they want to accomplish.
Right. Yeah, and if you grew up, and maybe it's like this for other folks, but specifically from my experience growing up in the hood, you have this idea. You have the job you have to do, which is going to take precedent over the job you want to do,
mm-hmm.
but you are going to survive. Like, that's just going to be a thing. So you suck it up, and I think that's what goes on with Joker. It's why I can relate to him. He's fucking sucking it up. He has dreams and goals, but he's got to do what he's got to do to take care of his family. And then the shit goes south in a way that he just did not expect, because he's a human person, and you never think it's going to be as bad as it could possibly be. You never think that your life is that important that you're the guy who gets the worst thing that happens to you, right? Like, you never think that's going to happen. And then it happens. And it breaks that part of him that was ever going to be good again. You know, like, he still misses it, he still mourns it maybe, but it's broken from him now, because that woman is gone, and that child who he never got to meet is gone now, and he'll never be able to realize
the life. I forgot he had a kid on the way.
Yeah. So it fucking, like, you could just imagine it just, like, breaking his mind and his spirit, and now it's just like, but I can't die. Like, he's not ready to die. He's a human. We have a survival experience. He's not ready to die. So he just knows that life from this point on will always have a degree of suffering. And so
damn, okay.
And so he's just like, what the fuck now? Who fucking cares? And if I gotta suffer like this just shows me the world is completely unfair. So I'm gonna fuck up everybody's shit. And he just goes around and being the chaotic.
It's like, if I can't have it, no one can.
Right. And so, and like, even though some of the stuff that Joker does in The Killing Joke is some of the darkest shit that you see in comics, like, just putting it in that whole idea of, like, him being as broken as he is, like, you're just like, yeah, that shit would happen. Sure. You know, I don't know. Like, I can think about it this way. I can see it this way. And so it appeals to me that he's trapped in it because he can never get the good back. Because that good in his life fucking died. It's not like it just went away. You know, like with Kingpin, isn't the thing with him is just like, she's not dead. They're not dead. They're gone, right? and so he's always trying to get them back.
In the comic books, I believe Vanessa is still alive.
So yeah, and I know there's different iterations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't really know the character super well, but the difference, like, he could always try to change, and maybe he has a crack at her again. But Joker's is gone. So what's the point?
I kind of look, you know what it is? There's Joker. Okay, I can relate it to Wolverine in a sense. Have you ever read Wolverine Origins by Daniel Way?
I have it bookmarked, but I haven't started reading it.
So I recently wrote Daniel, and it's funny because some people
mentioned it too.
Yeah, mentioned to me like they just don't like it, and the writing and blah blah blah. And I'm like, their opinion is their opinion. But the reason I liked it as much as I did is because you find out that all of Wolverine's life after the all of his life was controlled. There was this being that made him do all of these things. There was this evil entity that's supposedly supposed to be as old as like the prehistoric era, who has who was trying to mold Wolverine into him, and so he made him do all these deplorable things. Like, he's the reason why Nuke, the guy with the American flag on his face, he's the reason Nuke is the way he is. Originally, he was sent to kill Xavier, and that's why he's an X-Man. And you find out that Xavier erased... I can't... So you don't read it. But you find out all these things about Wolverine, and you realize, like, wow, like, there was a series of unfortunate events that made him the way he is. And so why he feels that, like, when he went to hell, he almost felt like he deserved to be there. He, like, you know what I mean? Like, and granted, he's one of comic book's greatest heroes, but you tell him that, and he'll be like, no, I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
And then you take someone like the Punisher, one of the things that happened to him, and then you find out in the Punisher Max series, you find out that there's this being, you don't know if it's a deity, you don't know if it's a demon, that he had to submit to have this ongoing war, so he wouldn't die. But the price he had to pay for this was his family. Now, he forgot all this, but these are all a series of events that led him to this. And there's no real difference from the Joker except for you have a fork in the road.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Maybe, like, because it was so random, as opposed to you have, like, the Punisher and Wolverine, who it was kind of, like, guided to. But with the Joker, like, the randomness turned him into chaos.
Yeah.
Because he probably got out of, like, all the chemicals, and it probably drove him mad that, like, he spent his entire life trying to be this good person, and it just ends up with him being, like, turned into, like, a monster almost. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what was it from V for Vendetta? What they did to me was monstrous, and it turned me into a monster.
Yeah. And I think for Joker, that is very much the case. Because I think as much as all of us sort of have this delusion of grandeur where we could be this great thing if these things line up so that with us could happen, I could be a movie star, or I could be this, or I could be that. What we never think of is that I can have the worst bad happen to me. Because when you try to think of like that, you're thinking like, how I'm not that special. How could I possibly be the one that gets the worst bad? And even if you grew up hard, I think you're like, well, this is the bad I can handle. But like I couldn't handle anything more. And I think with Joker, that's what we get, is that the worst bad you get the impression that he has a rough life, and then he gets this glimmer of hope in the form of this woman that he falls in love with, and he thinks things can be better. But in the end of the day, life is shit, and she dies, and now I'm still here, and now I'm broken, and now I've fallen into this vat of chemicals, and here's my life. So I think it's just a whole bunch of things that are just breaking him and breaking him and breaking him. And because, like you say, the randomness of it all, that's why his version of villainy is so random, is so chaotic, And what I do also love about him versus other villains is how well he knows himself. Like that he could say to Batman, I can't. There's nothing we could do. I need you to be, but I cannot change. Like, I like that awareness that he has, because you almost feel like, if one thing went well for him, he could have been the greatest good.
Like, imagine if he would have been able to take that mask off. And then, like, Batman could have seen a look in his eyes when he was just like, I didn't know this was going on. Please help me.
Yeah.
He could have been and he could have been the next Robin. He could have been the one that stopped all this. Like, him and Batman could have been together and legitimately stopped crime. Like, or it could have been the one thing that changed his life into, like, you know what I mean? Imagine watching someone go on a comedy tour talking about how he met Batman. Like, you know what I mean? All the things that could have happened to that. And it's just...
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's a multiverse out there where something like that happens. And it's...
That's right. That would be an interesting series, a book where things just turned around for Joker, and he's just like, I'm still fucked, my face is still fucked up, but like, do. But yeah, like, I don't know why, like, I have such an emotional connection to Joker, because I think he's a marker for the way things can flip on you. Like, I wonder, what if the worst bad happened to me, what keeps me this generic good person that I am, right? Like, what would be enough to turn me into just trying to wreak havoc and cause the amount of pain I'm feeling on other people? And so I guess, like, to a degree, Joker is kind of a marker of that for me. And at the end of like that, I swear, I fucking love that the scene. And actually, I think they did it well in the Killing Joke cartoon as well. Them just chuckling together, you're just like, you know, there's something I think in the respect of two enemies that are so equally matched, I think, where they acknowledge each other's thing, and that's kind of what goes on there. And it's just like, I can never fix you, I can never destroy you fully, and this is just where we're at, and what else do you do? Let's just start laughing. You know, I don't know, I think it's there's something really beautiful about it. I don't know why it's so twisted.
It is. And just real quick, I wish people would stop saying that Joker and Harley Quinn are relationship goals. I really wish people would stop saying
they are a disaster relationship. Like, for me, I just want Harley Quinn. I'm a Harley Quinn looking for my fucking Poison Ivy, and throw some Catwoman up in there. Like, let's keep that going. Let's have that. But, like, I'm tired of all of these relationship structures that are so toxic and so poisonous, and people are like, oh, they're everything to me. I don't want to be the kind of woman like Harley Quinn that she's just so obsessed with her dude who beats the shit out of her and treats her like crap. Yeah. And she's just so in love with him. And that's another thing. There's something really tragic to their story too that is appealing to the kind of the way I read comics or whatever, but not that I want them to, not that they're goals.
Yeah, but I get it though. But it's like I've been reading a lot of DC recently over the last couple of months because of the shift at work now. But one of the things that I've learned is like Harley Quinn's background. So it wasn't just like she met the Joker and he like manipulated her. Harley Quinn, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Harley Quinn's mind was at a point where it really was malleable. Like, she didn't know what she wanted in life. And then you have this guy who's just insanely charismatic, well-spoken. Like, his whole being is just out there. And it was like, timing was perfect for the two of them to meet. So it made sense why Harley would just kind of go, okay, I'm going to do whatever you do, because she was... At that point, her mind was very weak. Yeah. But I think... Go ahead.
I've heard Paul Dini talk a little bit about his ideas about her. Like, basically, she's sort of a composite of a girl he dated and other women that have been in his life or something like that. And when he was creating her for the animated series. And he was saying that what he thought was so beautiful and tragic about her is that she suffered a lot, thought she got better. And because she thought she was better, she didn't have her defenses up to protect her for the new bad. And that kind of like, I mean, I don't like to get emotional in front of people, but just saying it the way that I just said it, like, choked me up a little bit. Just like I could feel it kind of coming. Like, the idea that, like, we need somebody in our life that is there to raise the red flags for us when we can't raise them. And she did not have that. She didn't have it for herself, and she didn't have somebody back there, out there, like, wait, you know, you're going down a path, kind of a thing. And it's such a, like, I mean, I'm Japanese, so I'm here for tragedy. You know, like, you make it as dark as fuck, and I'm here for it. And so just the thought of how tragic a woman she is. She thought she was better. She scratched, and she fought, and she got educated, and she got a life. And yet she put herself in a position to be, like, by putting herself into this form of psychology, like going into the, you know, psychology that studies these type of people. She was just basically feeding herself to the wolves and didn't even realize it. And it's so beautifully tragic that I just adore the character. I don't gold the character.
So I don't really, fuck, I kind of wanted to stay on this villain topic, but I have another question. Joker would, do you think what comic book villain do you relate to? Because I want to get into heroes next, and I have a whole thing with, like, heroes. Because when it comes to villains, I don't know if I relate to any villain. My buddy calls me, he said if I was a villain, he said I'd be, Paste Pot Pete. Like, this underrated, underappreciated, like, villain who's actually a genius, but no one really realizes how smart he is, because all they know is that he shoots glue guns, but it's like the stickiest substance in the world. But like, even T'Challa, it was actually an issue of Fantastic Four when T'Challa was like, "Oh, these machines you created are genius. Make sure you come see me when you get out of jail." And it's like T'Challa wouldn't say that to be insulting. He'd be like, These machines are rudimentary and elementary. The people of Wakanda could have done that in their elementary school." Like, he was really impressed. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, he really is a genius, and he calls me, like, so that he said if any villain, it'd be Paste Pot Pete. I don't know if I relate to a villain, because I have this whole thing of, I have this weird morality thing. My therapist said I have a superhero complex where I want to, like, save everybody.
So I have a little bit of that too.
So, but I do really understand the Joker from the Dark Knight series. I didn't really like the Dark Knight, but I loved Joker. As a former cutter, as a former person who, like, self-harmed, like, I got the idea of the scars and, like, the idea of, like, you know, this is what, like, I am. Like, fuck it. You have pushed me to the limit of I don't care about anything. And, like, I understand, because I have anger issues. I have, like, depression. I've recently just understood what a panic and anxiety attack was like. So I understand.
Oh, really?
It was one of the worst feelings of my life.
Oh, yeah, I've had a couple. They are rough.
But it was like, I understand, like, as I get older, I understand his whole thing of just like, you know what? All this random shit keeps happening to me. Fuck everybody.
I know, right? Like, there's something so weird about it. Like,
But then I'm like, I don't really want to, because, you know, there are good people in the world.
You still want to be good.
Like you said, it's like the idea of Anakin.
Yeah. The idea of Anakin, like I said, not the execution, but the idea of Anakin makes sense to me. I'm a good person who is afraid, who has so much abandonment issues and shit like that. I'm afraid that the people I love are going to disappear. I understand the fuck out of that. I have teen parents who were garbage, who passed me off from family member to family member. I have experienced abuse at the hands of many people that I'm related to. And then I grow up and I'm trying to be in a relationship with somebody with all these issues intact and be like a normal, healthy, productive member of my couple. You know, like, wanting to save this person so that they never leave me. I get it. Like, I fucking get the shit out of Anakin. And so he hears some knowledge that, like, it's dark side, but it could do what I need it to do. I'm good. I can control it. Let me get a taste of that power. Like, it makes fucking sense. So I don't know. The villain is tough, because I love villains. In comic books, I fucking love villains. I know which ones that I would want to say, like, if I could get rid of this part of my morality, or if I could look past this, I'd be really into this villain or this villain or this villain, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I asked because I saw you posted that thing the other day about like which villain would I be, and I posted that. It's so weird that you posted it when you did because it popped up in my memory, my Facebook memory from around the same time.
That's funny.
And someone posted Cersei for me, and I was like, really?
You know, I don't watch.
But I asked.
Hold on. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I watched the episode. You watched the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not spoiling anything. I watched the episode where she got into power and she got revenge on everybody.
Right.
And I fell in love with her. Because I watched the first like 8 episodes, but there was just too many characters I didn't give a shit about. And that prince, is the most disgusting little fuck.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Oh, man. And
he can't even get jobs now because he did such a good job at being that terrible, no one wants to hire him.
Let me tell you, I'm writing a book, and if he wants to play the character, I would love to have him. But it's like, she was so, like, you know what it was? And then, like, finding out that she, like, took all this punishment for years, and she looked weak, and then to watch her, like, her plan, like, come into fruition, I was like, that's some boss shit. No, and it's like the show should have ended right there with her. Right. With her just kind of.
It would have been so satisfying if that was the last thing. It's weird because at first when this friend said it, I was like, it was a couple of things. It was like, really? Because this friend doesn't know me super well, but I must give off enough about me that she could detect this thing about vengeance that I have. Like I said, I'm Japanese. Vengeance is a big part. I'm going to get that vengeance. I'm going to be patient as fuck, but I'm going to get that vengeance. So, like, there's things about Cersei as a villain that I really, really respect, but there's also ways in which she's hella garbage. But once she started explaining what she thought about me that connected the thought for her, it started to make sense. And so I could see a Cersei-like leaning in that it's a fierce love of the people in her life. Like in her case, her children. You know, I don't have kids, but you know what I'm saying. Like the fierce love of certain people in her life compels her to destroy anybody who's going to make their life uncomfortable. I understand that mentality. I actually do quite a bit. Obviously, I'm not here for the incest, but if that's your thing, it's consensual. Do your thing, girl. But like that fierceness and that. Like, even when she realizes she's got none of them left, they are all fucking gone. What does she have to lose? And yet she still finds a way to keep going. That's actually something that I kind of respect in her villainy, I think. Because at this point, everybody's gone. Like, and she don't even seem to give a fuck about her brother boyfriend guy anymore. So, like,
brother boyfriend.
She just wiped out all of her enemies for the most part, and so like I get it. So now I can see that would be kind of a cool way to villain if I ended up going that path. But it's really hard to kind of figure that out because the thing is, like, I don't feel super duper in sync with any of my favorite heroes.
Really?
Right, I don't. It's a weird thing. There's certain heroes that I absolutely love, but that I can't always. My problem with heroes is that when the shit comes down to it, they don't always pull that trigger. Whether that trigger is killing the person or making a decision that prevents something from happening, you know, whatever it is. And so that's something like I know or I believe about myself that if the shit came down, even if it was a dark thing I had to do, I could probably do that thing for the better good because I'm thinking about numbers. I'm thinking about, you know, my one small world versus all of the world, you know, and I think that's something that I hope if the shit were to come down to me, that I could make the decision that was for the greater good versus the personal good. With villains, though, they seem far more realistic to me because they can pull the trigger, because they can do the dirt when the dirt happens. And I think that, like, being a really good being an actual good person, not just a person who thinks they're good, I think sometimes you do have to do dirt for the greater good. A willingness to do the dirt.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I love Wolverine and Cyclops as much as I do. Look, Wolverine, you know, he's about the shits. And I love that he has tried to kill Sabretooth over. Like, he was like, no, I'm trying to kill you. Let's not get it confused. I want to kill you. I am trying to kill you. And with Cyclops, and I understand his morality. And the only reason I understand it is I understand it from a place of coexistence. You know what I mean? But I also understand when Cyclops got so angry that he created X-Force and was like, hey, Wolverine, I want you to take a bunch of these people who are willing to kill and kill all of our enemies before they kill the rest of the human race. So I understand that. I didn't understand where he got, and here comes the word again, super militant in a sense where he was isolating himself from the rest of the world. But that's the whole issue with writing and all that. But my favorite heroes are all people who are willing to go the extra mile. Like, if I had to go off the top of my head, it'd be Wolverine, Deadpool, Jamie Madrox, Thor, Punisher, and Luke Cage and Black Panther. Those would probably be like the core 7. And all, like, I don't think Luke Cage...
List.
Huh?
That's a good list.
And it's like, I don't think Luke Cage is willing to kill, but he's willing to be like, yo, I am going to do whatever I take to make sure you don't have to do this shit again. But he's also about rehabilitation, which I understand. And you get a guy like Thor who, like, yeah, I will kill you. I don't want to, but I will if I have to. Deadpool is Deadpool.
Deadpool, and honestly, the crossover that I want is Deadpool and Harley Quinn, because I feel like Deadpool can match her chaoticness, but he's at the core a good dude, and is not gonna fuck her up.
Yeah, and like they both understand what it's like. They both have this insecurity about themselves that I think is beneficial for them both. So like you have Harleen Quinzel, who is a therapist. She's a doctor. People forget that like she's actually she's a genius.
Don't let the New Jersey accent fool you.
Exactly. So like it would help Deadpool, but it also would help her in a sense where she could be herself without the judgment or the abuse.
Right.
But if I had to, my favorite characters are Deadpool and Wolverine. But if I had to pick a character that I relate to more than anybody else, it's Multiple Man. I understand the when Peter David wrote X Factor, and it was X Factor Investigations, and he did a series called I believe it was called Multiple Choice, and you're learning that like his powers are kind of different now. So when he creates a duplicate, it's a different part of his personality. So you get the aggressive one, you get the loving one, and it was funny because one of them was gay. And he was just like, "Oh, you have such a shapely mouth, and I can't believe someone did this to you." And I'm like, "What?"
Shapely mouth.
Yeah, it was just like, huh? And then so the guy who was helping, he goes, "You're gay?" He goes, "No, but we all have a little bit of this in us." You know what I mean? And he pulls it in. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I dig it." And it was just like there's all these personalities that are inside of him, but in the core of it, he creates these duplicates because it's hard for him to make a decision. Because he can see all of the options. Because he has all these... Because in like... My first introduction to him was the funniest shit ever was... He wanted to go out and party. But he wanted to stay home. So he couldn't figure out what he wanted to do. So he created 2 duplicates who went out and did 2 different things. He reabsorbed them and reabsorbed their night. So technically he went out and he went in and he stayed in.
That would work really well for an ambivert like me.
And it's so cool. So I was like, okay, I dig it. And so I got it. And I understood where he came from. So like, and there's this one issue where there was this villain doing this really terrible thing, and he was talking to him, and him and Madrid, and so the villain goes, "I have a proposition." And so then you don't see what happens, and then he goes back to his team, and he's the leader, mind you. He goes, "What happens?" And he goes, "Oh, I killed him." And then you hear his thought bubble. He goes, "We came to an agreement. You stay out of my way, I'll stay out of yours." I'm like, okay, I understand that, because it's like, what's the point of going through all this? You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. But I also understand the idea of wanting to be a leader and wanting to be the person in charge. But being frozen, I shouldn't say frozen, because I'm not really frozen when it comes to making, but no, it's another thing. He's not frozen when it comes to making important decisions. When there's an important decision he needs to make, he steps up, he's involved, and he's a leader. But when it's little stupid shit like, what do you want to have for dinner? I'm like, I don't really care. Just fucking order something. But it would be nice to be able to create 3 other duplicates to be like, you go get Chinese, you go get Mexican, you go get Italian, you eat your food, and I'll absorb all your experiences. You know what I mean? So for me, like, that's the character I relate to more than, like, anybody. Can't hear you.
Sorry, rookie mistake. I went mute so I could eat my cookie. I've been asleep on him. I didn't, like, I'm aware of his character and stuff like that, but I didn't really think about him in that kind of context. But he makes a lot of sense through how you explain it. So I'm gonna check him out. I'm gonna get in there. So the weird thing is, over the last few years, I haven't read as many comic books. It's weird because I still consider myself a comic book lover, and yet I kind of like pick and choose little bits in here that I'm reading. I'm not doing it. I hadn't been doing it as consistent. I'm trying to get better now that I do my show. So most recently, I think the character that I relate to, man, if I could really mash up the Black Panther movie, Nakia and Okoye as one person, I think that would make a lot of sense to me.
I think Okoye was one of the most underrated characters that we've seen in the MCU in a long time. I feel like we need an Okoye movie. I thought her and M'Baku were the best 2 parts of that movie. I just want to get that out there.
We know she certainly could carry the movie herself, absolutely. But, like, okay, so I'm mixed. I present yellow, but I am black as fuck. Like that's my thing. And when you're a mixed person and you're looking for representation in movie form or whatever, you usually got to go personality based, because it's not like there's going to be a whole bunch of black Japanese girls out there on screen, right? You know, it's not going to happen that often. But when Okoye comes on screen, it's the first time I sat in a movie theater and was like, oh, that's what white people must feel like all the time. I see myself. Like, and wow. It wasn't about her look or anything like that, obviously, because, I mean, if I could look like her, man, like, I'm just, like, in love with Denai, so I can't even deal with that part. Like, I'm just fanning myself over here. But, like, everything about her, that stoicism, but she still got a sense of humor. She's not taking no shit, but she understands that she has to be flexible in some places. You know, like, there's just so much about her as a character that was exhibited by specifically the movie version of Okoye, that I felt some form of representation by watching her. Even to a degree, and this is a conflict that I have in watching her, but she's my character, that she's the one that I identify with the most. I'm conflicted about when she can't leave the throne. When she does get so stuck in that I made a commitment to this throne no matter who sits on it. I have been that person before. I have been that person where I got stuck so much on this particular person in my life that I could not, even when things weren't right, I couldn't step away, because I had made this, like, this is the thing, this is the bond. And so, like, now that I'm away from that, I can now view that as a, you know, obviously that was a problem from the past that I had to learn from and grow up and stuff like that. But in the moment while watching her do it, I got it. I understood her being stuck there to support the throne no matter who was on it.
Yeah.
And so,
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I was just saying, like, so that she made the most sense to me of any character that I've seen. She made the most sense to me as being, like, representative of a way that I am. But then Nakia, on the flip side of that, is also someone I related a lot to, where it's like, I can't know that there's this bad stuff in the world and come back and be happy here in Wakanda. That's why I say if it was a mashup between those two women, I think that I would get the character that would make the most sense to me. Someone that can sometimes get so stuck in a place that's wrong, but also at the same time can't be happy unless I'm helping. Like, I'm a combination of those people.
You know what's funny is in terms of Black Panther, I think I relate more to M'Baku, just in the sense of he felt that like his tribe wasn't well represented, and the way they clung to the the way they were clinging to the old ways of Wakanda thinking, like they weren't really big on the technology. They remained not pescatarian. And people go, well, he's not really vegetarian, he's pescatarian. I'm like, yeah, they don't have a word for pescatarian.
Honestly, all he said is we're vegetarians, meaning him and his children possibly, and that perhaps his tribe was pescatarian. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, and I also said to him, like, there may not be a word for pescatarian in Wakandan or with this tribe. So I was like, okay, it is what it is. But like, I understood that, and I also understood the honor of saving someone's life. Yes, this man beat you. Yes, you have. Yes, you're upset with the throne, but that doesn't mean that the child is a bad man. So yes, you save his life, just like he saved yours. I understand the honor of. I understand the stubbornness of going, I'm not helping you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Live your own battle. Right. But I also understand that and trust me, as the husband of a wife who will tell you how it is, I'm pretty sure he was sitting on that throne and his wife walked up to him and was like, you know what he's doing, you know what he says is right, get over yourself, blah blah blah, and walk away. And then I'd probably be sitting there going, fuck, fine. You know what I mean? So I completely understand everything like M'Baku went through. And I love during Infinity War when he was like, I'm with you, brother. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I thought Okoye was easily my favorite character of the show, but I think I related more to M'Baku than maybe anybody else in the MCU other than probably Thor, only because with him, I understand the idea of having, for the lack of a better term, dad issues. My father has never told me he loves me, but I know he does. Like, you know what I mean? I understand the idea of having a loving mother. The way you feel about your father is the way I feel about my mother. I'm pretty sure you'll hear on the show how I talk about her. But I understand like the idea of trying to break away from your past lineage. Yeah. And not being away from that. For me, my grandmother's probably Odin. Like she was harsh, she was stubborn, but she was brutally honest. When I needed a kick in the ass, she was there with a kick in the ass. When I needed a reminder that I'm the god of stubborn, not the god of the god of thunder, not the god of hammers, she was also there for that too. So I understand Thor on like a really deep level. Like I get it.
I'm sorry. That's old man Wade. He was waving at you. So you talking about Matt Wilson?
Hey, how are you?
Are you talking about Matt Wilson? Yeah. He's stuck at the airport?
Not stuck. He got a layover.
Oh, so we're gonna go get him?
Yeah.
Okay. When? Right. Soon?
Whenever you guys.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we can end it now. If you gotta go, we can end it now.
This is just a surprise thing, but this kid that we used, like when we were first together, he was still a little kid that we were like he was mentoring or whatever. He's like 10 years older than us, but now he's a full grown ass man, and he's living with he's got wife and kids and stuff. And he just showed me a text message. He's like, he calls my husband old and busted, and he calls himself the new hotness, or at least he did when they knew each other well before. And so
Men in Black reference.
Yeah. So he's like, the new hostess is stuck at the airport on a 9-hour layover, so if you want to come and get me, because we actually live close to the airport. Yeah,
let me let you do your thing, man. This was awesome, and
well, let's do some finishing up though, because I think it'd be nice for to finish that. So M'Baku, 100%. I did not expect to relate to the movie version of M'Baku as much. Like I think he is a favorite. I mean. Gosh, everybody on that movie, though, I don't have a problem with anybody. I mean, even to a degree, Killmonger. I can't be a girl from Long Beach and not relate to Killmonger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of, like, the representation of American blackness, Killmonger, it's just like everything he says I'm on board with except for the world domination portion of it. It's like, yeah, I'm not necessarily against arming folks against their enslavers and their colonizers and things like that. But also, I'm not trying to colonize. You know, like, so there's things like that. Like, almost everybody in that movie is super relatable, which is something that I don't think exists in any other part of the MCU.
No.
Specifically.
No.
There's so many characters in this movie alone that you're just like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Across the board. Yeah, I get it. I mean, even the fact, like, I saw someone say they were disturbed by how little the Queen Mother's was visually mourning her husband's loss. But she has the line to T'Challa where she says, I'm proud. Like, he says, how are you doing today, Mother? And she says, I'm proud. And the thing is, like, I love my husband and I will mourn my husband, but today is about you. You know, and that seemed like one of the blackest moments. Honestly, that was one of the fucking blackest moments in that movie, is to think, like, I already know I'm going to mourn. There's already going to be suffering. But we did this because of you, and it is now your turn. So there's, like, everybody across the board in this movie was super relatable, and I felt something for every one of them. But yeah, if Okoye can get her own movie, and honestly, if Okoye and Ayo, now that Wakabe's out of the picture, I don't know, maybe there's something.
That would be nice.
I've been wanting to see an Okoye Ayo situation
Move,
for a while.
or you will be moved.
I just said this last night to my husband that was one of my favorite lines in all of the MCU.
It was a look on her face too, like what are you gonna do about it?
That was hot as fuck. I love it. But yeah, So, I don't know. I want to sit on that question because I feel like, because in both cases, in terms of hero or villain, I have never been able to really nail down exactly who. I just know that, like, I have this affection, this weird kind of affection for Joker, aspects of Joker. Obviously, he's crazy. That makes sense to me. But I'm kind of with you on Wolverine and Deadpool in terms of, because what bothers me about heroes is the pristine hero. I cannot get down with
Captain America.
Like,
It's all coming.
He's all coming. Like, I get it, and honestly, if Chris Evans had never played him, I would never have given a shit about Captain America. But I like Chris Evans as an actor, and I think he fucking nails Captain America. I think he does a really good job. He pisses me off constantly in the MCU. I'm watching him, and, like, I don't read. I'll say I don't read books that he's in, except for the Black Panther ones that he's popped up in. So, like, I don't give a fuck about him.
I will say this though, he's I think he's gotten a bad rap for a while because I thought the same thing, and I ended up reading the Captain America arc written by Ed Brubaker, and it was amazing. It's a conversation we can have on another podcast. Before you go. I thought I had something to say. No. So, because I'm going to split this into 2 episodes. So, once again, let everyone know where they can find you.
There's a whole bunch of places you can find us. I am the main host of Militantly Mixed, and we're on all of the major podcast platforms: iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. I think it's still pending, but whatever.
I'm still waiting on that as well.
Huh?
I'm still waiting on that as well.
I've applied all 3 at the same time: Black Radical Queer, Militantly Mixed, and Blurred Comics. Blurred Comics was my newest show. Blurred Comics got accepted. Nice. And is up. But Militantly Mixed and Black Radical Queer, who have been out a lot longer, did not get accepted. So that one's weird. I've reapplied to it just in case. But yeah, Militantly Mixed is a podcast about race and identity from the mixed race perspective, and I talk to a guest that is of mixed race heritage about the mixed race experience on that show. Blurred Comics is my co-hosted show with my childhood mixed black friend, Blurred Vision, and he and I talk about blackness and blurred shit of all kinds on that show. We also talk a lot about his kids. He has one kid that turned out looking black and one kid that turned out looking white. We call them Rice and Beans on the show. We talk about them a lot. And so we're on there. I also produce Black Radical Queer, which I am on sometimes as a guest but not a host, with Javi and Nicole, which is it's just the Black Radical version of Militantly Mixed, like the Black Radical Queer version of Militantly Mixed. We both have a very similar bend in our way of thinking. And coming up soon will be a show called The First Time I Ever, which is about first-time experiences. of any kind, travel, sex, love, driving a car for the first time, things like that. And I have a couple other shows that are coming out, but like I said, I'll have to tell you about those later.
Stay tuned!
They do. Main Hustle Media.
Main Hustle Media.
Mane. Main. Sharmane. Main Hustle.
Main? Spell it like Terrence Howard was saying it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you for coming on the show. You have to do this. I think your husband saved you because otherwise this would have been a 4-hour podcast.
Well, I texted him and I was like, if you need to get water, just come out because we're not stopping. I texted him that a little while ago.
So yeah,
I got locked up in the room with all the cats.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for making time considering all the things going on with your Star Wars cats. Before you go, can I hear a damn it, Wade?
Damn it, Wade!
Damn it, Wade!